Welcome to Life L'Chaim. On today's show, we'll talk with Amir Arad, who teaches bar and bat mitzvah lessons over the internet. And first is Chuck Prentiss, the Jewish ambassador of Broadway, to tell us about the history of Jews and the silver screen. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
With us in studio today, we're excited to have Broadway's ambassador to the world, Chuck Prentiss. Chuck, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us on To Life L'Chaim.
Lee, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Chuck, you're a retired attorney. You had your own insurance brokerage business for 30 years. And now you have your own show on Jewish Life Television on Sunday afternoon that talks about and shows Jewish Broadway. How did that happen?
Well, all my life, Lee, when I was living in New York, even though I was engaged in earning a living as a lawyer and later as an insurance broker, I still was a great fan of Broadway musicals. And I used to go to see all the shows and absorb a lot of that material, learn songs that nobody remembers anymore. And in my spare time, I'd go out to the New York piano bars, open mics, Lamb's Club, Players Club, the Friars, and perform these songs, crazy, wacky comedy songs. When I retired to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which was August 1, 2002, I thought I wouldn't be doing anything anymore, lying on the beach playing golf. But my condo asked me to start doing shows for them a few years ago on Broadway and Hollywood musicals.
How did they know you even had that talent?
Well, you know, we talk around the house and they knew that, and they wanted to do a music evening, and they said, could I put something together for Broadway and Hollywood musicals? Just at that time, it became possible to show video clips of these people, not just play original cast recordings. So now you could show Ethel Merman, Mary Martin, etc. Well, it exploded. I was soon doing it on cruise ships and in retirement communities all around South Florida, all over the place. And one day the Chabad came to me on the Gold Ocean Mile and said, could you do something for our annual Yiddish festival? I said, why not? A Jewish show. So I combined my knowledge and love of the Yiddish Second Avenue Theater and Broadway musicals and did shows for them which featured Jewish stars, both on the East Side, Second Avenue, and on Broadway. Then they found out about that in New York. Joel Levitch, who had a network called NJT, National Jewish Television, he flew down and he started filming my shows, which we did in all different venues in South Florida. And they got onto JLTV. He merged with JLTV, with Phil Blazer, and they're apparently very successful. We've been doing a lot of them. People are loving them, and I'm now getting calls from all over the country to try to do shows for them, live shows. People like Hillel in Milwaukee, people as far away as Arizona, farms in Texas, Framingham, Massachusetts, and Boston, fans from all over the country. It's amazing the kind of reach JLTV has, and it keeps coming online in more and more places, Chicago, Philadelphia, Palm Beach, and I just get more and more calls nationally for people who want me to do these shows in person at their theaters.
Right, and I can, just doing some of the research on your shows, they began as more educational when you first started out, and now they're wonderfully, not that education isn't entertaining, but they're wonderfully entertaining today.
Well, I really felt that my mission, as it was a couple of years ago, was just to educate the audience, whether it was on cruise ships, my condo, or wherever, about this wonderful golden age of musicals. And originally it was a century of Broadway and Hollywood musicals. Show them Ethel Merman, show them Mary Martin, show them Zero Mostel. And I thought that that's what it was. But as things developed more and more, my own performing started getting into it. Now we've reached the point of even having a pianist, Mitch Tunkel, and in the most recent one we did, Mitch was accompanying me at the keyboard, and I was doing Yiddish parodies of popular American songs and other things.
So where did this motivation start from? Did it start as a kid? Do you remember something that sparked you for your love of music, for your love of theater?
Well, I was always interested in entertainment, but only as a member of the audience. I remember the first time I ever saw Danny Kaye, Jerry Lewis, people like that, even Menashe Skulnik. It just lit me up because they were crazy, funny, wacky, creative. But never did I ever dream I'd be anything more than an audience member. Now all these years of useless knowledge that I've stored up sitting in the audience have turned into a career, when suddenly I'm disgorging all this, sharing A, the things I've learned, and B, the crazy wackiness that rubbed off from watching these people.
Right. Talk to us about some of the shows that you've produced.
Well, a show that we did, originally they were generic, just Jewish Broadway Part 1, Part 2. Then they developed themes, like Jewish Broadway Part 3 was about the great Jewish songwriters. Part 4 was called the 10 greatest Jewish performers of the century, me and 9 others. But in that connection, our opening number was a clip of Al Jolson and Cab Calloway doing a duet. And I had just before that met the granddaughter of Al Jolson and her mother. They live here in South Florida, not far from where I live. And I invited them to be at the show, introduced them, and towards the end, we led the whole audience singing "You Made Me Love You," one of Al's great songs. So meeting people like the Jolson family, or Eddie Cantor's family, or Menashe Skulnik's family, an unknown guy named Eddie White, who I may have just rediscovered, and nobody knows of him yet, but we're going to bring him out. In 1928, he did a movie for Vitaphone. So all these people I'm meeting, and all these contacts from all over the country, from people who are not in show business, but just fans like me. It's really a whole new life, a whole new experience for me.
We're going to take a break right now, Chuck, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more detail about some of your shows, and just get into some of your Yiddish background as well, and how enjoyable that is to watch.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be right back. We're back with the musical Astoria historian, Chuck Prentiss. Chuck, when we went to break, we were talking about the 10 greatest Jewish entertainers of the century, me and 9 others. Me meaning you.
Yes, of course.
Who are some of those 9 others?
The also-rans, the ones from 2 through 10? Yes. Well, there was one who called himself the world's greatest entertainer, Al Jolson.
Right.
And I agree with him. I would vote for him any day. And we also had Eddie Cantor, Sophie Tucker, and showing how she morphed into Bette Midler, Fanny Brice, how she morphed into Barbara Streisand, how these people were the genesis. Menashe Skulnik, the great Second Avenue comedian, how he, I believe, morphed into Jerry Lewis, and now into me, because I'm a great disciple of Menashe Skulnik. I think he's got the funniest material ever.
And Menashe Skulnik, is the education that I've gotten from speaking with you, was a great Yiddish performer. And you also have a show regarding the great Yiddish performers. Yes.
The show is called Yiddish Broadway, and the theme is that Yiddish is alive and well, surviving and thriving in the 21st century today. And we have scenes from Yiddish festivals in Israel and in Russia and in Wales and England.
Wow.
And even at the Rosie O'Donnell TV studio here in America. And of course, we begin the program with the great Yiddish song of greeting that was very popular in the old shtetls, Shalom Aleichem. You remember the Shalom Aleichem song?
I do. I do.
How does it go?
Right? Shalom Aleichem, Haveinu Shalom Aleichem, Haveinu Shalom Aleichem, Haveinu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem.
That's right, Lee. That was the second most popular of the Shalom Aleichem songs. There's a catalog of Shalom Aleichem songs. But the one that's the most popular, that's still popular to this very day, is the one that goes, I'm sure you remember this one, it goes, Shalom Aleichem, Mali. Shalom Aleichem, Mali. Ze is een nes als die bist strik in unser Stieb. Wie geht du guckst, Mali, bist verputzt, Mali. Die bist schön wie die Levone, ich hab dir zu viel lieb. Ich will de Pripetschok schockelt und der Hockel bockelt. Und Yeshiva Buches laufen dir zu sehen, nur kommt zum Tisch Mali, habt zum gefühlte Fisch Mali, vor nicht kein Mal wieder weg, bleib, läuft nicht zu dem letzten Eck, bleibt Gesundheit in unser Heim. Shalom Aleichem Mali, and Shalom Aleichem to you all, to each and every one of you who love Yiddish and are thrilled to know that Yiddish is live, bigger and better than ever here in the 21st century.
That's wonderful. I have never heard that version.
I thought it was world popular. My God, my grandparents used to sing that back in the shtetl.
Right.
About 1893.
And you talked about Menashe Skolnick as being one of your big influences. How did that come to pass? That was Yiddish a prominent language in your home? How did that transpire?
Well, yes, when I was a kid, like in the 4th or 5th grade, going to regular schools, my parents sent me to the Workman Circle School, the Arbitering, to learn Yiddish, to read, write Yiddish, etc. But they also would take me to the Second Avenue Theater to see great stars of the time, like Molly Pickin and Maurice Schwartz. And Menashe Skolnick knocked me out. Skolnick was just the top banana, the #1 Yiddish comedian of Second Avenue and later on Broadway as well. But what really did it for me was that as an adult, maybe 30 years or so ago, I came across a CD of Menashe Skolnick's material. Now, it was in Yiddish, so therefore it's inaccessible to most people today. But one hilarious bit after another. And what I have started doing in my programs is translating Menashe from Yiddish into English. So in the Great Performers program, I did I'm Not in a Hurry, I Got Plenty of Time, one of his great ones. And then in the one on Yiddish, first we have a version of Sam, You Made the Pants Too Long, which was a world-famous song, sung by everybody, from Barbra Streisand on down. But Menashe had an answering song of his own called Who Am I? I am Sam, the man who made the pants too long.
What's the fun part of that
They
song?
moited my whole business with that song.
What's the fun part of that song, Sam, I Made the Pants Too Long? That was a Milton Berle, Barbra Streisand...
Milton Berle wrote it. You remember the movie called The Thief of Baghdad? Famous movie, The Thief of Baghdad.
Okay.
Milton Berle was known as the thief of bad gags. But he wrote this song which was, you made the coat and vest fit the best. You made the lining very strong, but Sam, you made the pants too long. I feel a winter breeze up and down the knees. The tie is where the fly belongs, but Sam, 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 you made the pants too long. You know what I mean, Sam?
And then Menashe Skolnick, there was that second part, that comeback.
He created his own piece of special material, which nobody has ever heard until now when I put it into English, which is, I'm Sam, the man who made the pants too long. They moited my whole business with that song. The coat and vest were made the best, the lining was so strong. But they wiped me out because they shout, Sam, you made the pants too long. And it goes on like that.
Right.
You know?
And even though Yiddish, some may say that Yiddish is a dying language, the audience, whether they know the words or they know the melody, so that's what attracts them in a big way to your performers.
Well, let me say this. I sing to a lot of Christian audiences, and they love hearing stuff in Yiddish, especially Christmas songs like Ruven de Reut Nose Regen Hirsch, hat der Noses Reut das Wein, a lichtig and lustig punem, Ruven bei mir bist du schein. See, you see, Yiddish is an international language, works for everyone. It's where Irish songs in Yiddish, Oi, wenn Yiddish Eugen schmeicheln, yeah, when Yiddish eyes are smiling, things like that.
And we got about a minute left, Chuck, and I know you have another show that's for a younger audience, based on some of the great Jewish rock and roll artists and writers and performers. Yeah,
exactly, because people who are now in their 50s and 60s, who are really not into the golden age of music, are into rock and roll baby boom music. And they gave it seemed like all of rock and roll had Jewish stars wherever you look. And the first one they told me about was a guy named Aaron. You familiar with Aaron? A-R-O-N? You're not?
Which Aaron?
Which Aaron? Oh, Aaron, the world famous Aaron, the one called Elvis Aaron Presley.
Yes, so that Aaron I'm familiar with.
Now, I'm not sure if he actually was Jewish or not, probably not, but there were all sorts of articles claiming that he was, and I'm quite content to start off with Aaron and work my way up from there.
Right. Chuck, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Enjoyable time with you. We look forward to seeing your shows on Jewish Life Television, and we'll let people know on screen where they can get in touch with you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me.